My name is Karen Ellery Jones, and I'm here with Dr. T. Dr. T is giving a speech tonight at Oak Ridge School. And welcome to Sandwich.
Thank you. It's beautiful here.
Isn't it? Yes.
Yes.
I know that it's going to be an information-packed 2-hour speech, and I know we get a lot of people coming to hear what you've got to say. So tell me a little bit about yourself.
Well, I like to study nature and derive information from nature that helps people take care of themselves, letting them become independent in improving their own health and longevity, helping them improve the quality of life, and doing it scientifically based on principles that have not changed for thousands of years, and based on the principles of biochemistry and physiology. I'm a medical doctor trained in Europe and in the United States, and a retired doctor of chiropractic, plus a board-certified nutritionist and a professor of clinical nutrition and functional medicine in the University of Natural Medicine. And I use these venues to promote healthy, natural lifestyle that promotes longevity and promotes optimal health, or at least helping people improve their health to the point where they don't notice any chronic disease that is typically afflicting Western society and especially Americans. My biggest pet peeve is hearing people talk about a diet of one type or another that they're trying to embark upon. Everybody reads a book and immediately tries to follow a certain dogma that is man-made. And many of them are correct for some people, but in holistic medicine or in natural medicine, we simply can't afford to harm anybody. With allopathic medicine or conventional orthodox medicine, it's appropriate to take risks, because when we see a patient, that patient already has an acute, maybe life-threatening pathological condition, and therefore it's considered an acceptable risk to perhaps harm them with a therapy that can save their lives. But in holistic medicine, we don't have that luxury. We must always help people and never hurt them. Therefore, if any approach to nutrition gives us a blanket statement, a one-size-fits-all, telling us that we all should eat in one way or another, ignoring the biochemical individuality of each and every one of us, forgetting that we all have a different lifestyle, different background, different genetics, different environmental exposure, different medical history, that each and every one of us, even throughout his or her own personal life, would have to change his or her diet depending on their condition. Mm-hmm. Therefore, having one size fits all never works for most people, but just for a few. And that is why a lot of people are being harmed by many of those exclusive diets that tell you you have to do it this way or another.
Like protein only, low carb.
Yes, low carb, low fat, high protein, etc. There are some principles of nature that are appropriate to all of us. For example, if we look at nature, we don't see chimpanzees or zebras eating differently based on their types, mm-hmm. metabolic types, blood type. They don't eat differently based on that. They eat more or less according to what nature forces them to eat by providing them mm-hmm. with what's around. They don't have the option that we have created for ourselves as human beings. Those options allow us to depart far away from what nature tells us to do.
What would be our ideal diet? If you could, I know that it's not one size fits all, but if you could devise, if you could say, okay, this is what we should be eating, but we're not eating, right. What would it be?
This is complex because exactly of what I said earlier. Right. But if we use the analogy of the zebra mm-hmm. or the chimpanzee, we would be eating more or less similar to what primates, who are 99.5% identical to us genetically, we would be eating similarly to them. It means that we would not be perfect in anything. We would not be 100% vegan or vegetarian. We would be eating, though, very, very little from animal life, mostly plant-based, And all the scientific studies that have been investigating longevity and chronic disease have arrived at the same conclusion, which is we should all eat very little food or less food. It should be mostly or predominantly plant-based, and that we should also have a sturdy emotional constitution, which normally derives from having a good family life, good community life, interaction and participation in community, and having a healthy social and emotional disposition. No matter how stressful it might be. We can be really busy, we can be stressed out, but if it is because of our own control and because of our own desire to better the community in which we live, then we will have longer life and will have less disease. That's just in general. But if people want to have additional details, I have 6 free teleseminars. They're available to the public online. You just have to go to thetruthaboutyourfood.com. That's www.thetruthaboutyourfood.com. And you have there 12 hours of discussion, getting into great detail, with some good science that is easy to understand about what it is that people should be eating, what they should not be eating, according to nature, according to biochemistry, to physiology, but not according to dogma or man-made ideas that are so popular in so many books today.
So why don't you tell me what your diet's like?
You know, I hear that question quite a lot, because everybody wants to know what is it that makes me feel so vital. And
Because I have to tell you, your skin is fabulous. You look like full of life. So
Well,
I
thank
want to
you.
know your secret.
And I only slept 2 hours last night.
Did you really?
Yes,
Oh,
yes.
and no eye bags.
Plus
goodness.
just flew in and so on. Actually, my schedule is so tight that if I didn't eat relatively healthy, I would not be able to do what I'm doing. About 250 lectures per year, all over the world, and seeing patients, especially for health and medical, nutritional consultations, as well as thousands of patients all over the world are using my special technique to remove skin lesions, different moles and skin tags and blemishes and birthmarks and sunspots, liver spots, and fatty lesions. There are so many types of skin blemishes that people don't want to live with but don't want to have a surgery. And I have a special technique to eliminate them without using any surgery. There's no pain, there's no need for anesthetics, and the results are so good that people are so happy they always refer their families and friends. And all the proceeds from this go towards my nonprofits in the United States, in Israel, in Nepal, and also a few others in other countries. Those nonprofits I would like to speak about when we have an opportunity, because they're dear to my heart and they make a big impact on a lot of people's lives, and it's just the one thing that makes me feel more content and happy than anything else in the world.
So they feed your soul.
They feed my soul and then some. I mean, I get amazing entrees and desserts just with those nonprofits, just seeing the children. And I like to invite people to join me on some of my eco-community humanitarian treks in Nepal to see for themselves what is being done in Nepal to help the poorest people in the world make a happy and healthy life for themselves. So when people ask me about my own diet, I usually tell them I'm only one person. Let's be a little humble. Each one of us is different. I'm very fortunate my parents were a little crazy and raised me very differently from anybody around them. So I avoided many of the reasons for chronic diseases that Americans don't have the luxury of avoiding. So just using me as an example won't be a scientific act when we are dealing with lots of people and trying to improve the health of many. What I would recommend, instead of asking me what I eat personally, which varies a lot depending on which country I am, each day I'm in a different state or different country, so it varies a lot, but I know always what not to eat, and that's more important than what to eat.
Okay, so what don't you eat?
I don't eat things that are processed, refined, rancid, unfresh, packaged as much as possible. And I don't eat anything that is artificial. But a few things that are really important to avoid are excess protein, and that's a big problem in our society. In America, everybody eats too much protein, and that's the main reason for so many chronic diseases in our society. And unfortunately, many healthcare practitioners are telling people to eat more protein when they should be giving them the opposite advice. That's because protein is highly addictive, and it makes you feel better when you eat it because of the addiction. And it has other negative aspects that still trigger in our brain a positive response that makes us want more of it. And if you want to help people feel better right away, you give them more protein. But in the long run, you actually undermine their health. And that is one thing. I try to eat less protein, but to get more calories from carbohydrates and fats. Especially fats are a good source of calories if they're healthy fat. And that is the second most important thing, to avoid rancid fats. And most people, because of the propaganda of many corporate entities and the media, we end up eating a lot of rancid fats unknowingly. Some of the most popular fats and oils that are available in the supermarket and that are prepackaged in the typical food you buy off the shelf
And this would be
are
the
rancid.
process for
They're
this.
more than just processed. They're fats that are so intrinsically unstable. In nature, we would have never eaten them. And here we eat them all the time. So I focus on eating the fats that are stable and that are giving our cell membranes fluidity and help us protect our body from free radical damage, which is a major component of disease and aging. So if you eat healthy foods, your skin will not age. If you avoid fatty acids that are rancid, and that is almost in everything from peanut butter to soybean oil to corn oil to canola, all those common popular foods that are in every packaged presented shelf food that we have.
Right.
Long shelf food. They want to have long shelf life,
Right.
but they're not fresh, and they're not as nature intended. These are the types of food that lead to rancidity of our subcutaneous fat, and that creates a major amount of free radicals that age our skin. I have a 2-hour lecture on the topic of maintaining a healthy skin and preventing skin lesions and molds and skin tags from growing by having a healthy lifestyle that prevents having fatty liver and other conditions. So these are important things to avoid. And of course, white sugar and white flour that are excessively refined are a no-no if you want to have good nutrient density. So these are things to avoid, but if you want to know what to eat as opposed to what not to eat, I have in that last free teleseminars online in thetruthaboutyourfood.com, as I said earlier, thetruthaboutyourfood.com.
You should go around the perimeter of the grocery store because that's where the
Produce.
fresh fruits and the produce are
Yes.
and the dairies.
Well, I don't recommend dairy product in general because, and again, I have a 2-hour lecture explaining all the science of what happens to your body when you ingest dairy products.
Okay.
So dairy products are another source of very frequently eaten protein, which makes us have too much protein in our diet. Dairy products were not designed by nature to be eaten by humans. Humans are the only animal out of thousands of types of animals that
Continue to drink milk.
continues to suck on the nipples of other mammals, that continues to actually drink the glandular secretion of another animal. No other animal in nature would do that. And intuitively, people know when they think about it that this is not right. But when you hear the clinical evidence and the immunological evidence, the biochemical evidence, the infectious evidence, then nobody would want to eat dairy products anymore. But again, I don't want to immediately tell people what not to do because they get a little uptight. You know, their holy cows are being slaughtered in front of their eyes. The easier thing to do is just to tell them what to eat. And that is what I focus on in that last teleseminars. The teleseminar within that website, thetruthaboutyourfood.com, where the last one is talking for 2 hours about the foods that you should be eating on a regular basis and more or less what the frequency should be, how often and what quantities you should have of them. So it is the top 10 food groups. You have 10 food groups, each one of them is full with foods. And by the time you are done with those 10, your tummy is so full you can't think of any other food. That makes it really easy to do. I also like to espouse what I call the food funnel instead of the food pyramid. And the food funnel gives people a very clear idea about what is healthy and what is not healthy, what they should focus on more in the food funnel. What foods are on the top are much bigger amount than the food that are in the bottom, as opposed to the food pyramid, which does the opposite and confuses people, because what's on top is the smallest amount, but it's on the top. And people then get psychologically interested in eating those foods on the top. So by showing them a different thing, it's a little more educational and psychologically easier to understand. So by doing that, I feel people have a very good ability and good tools to improve their health and lifestyle, in addition to looking at their emotional aspects. And as I said earlier, I really welcome people joining me in Nepal in my treks. I'm taking a group in 2.5 weeks, and I still have a few spots left for people who want to trek in the Himalayas and check out the orphanage that we're building. And we have a nice school for orphans and for poor children that already has more than 300 children, and community outreach where we teach children who can't even go to school how to read and write, protecting them from human slavery, protecting them from human trafficking and horrible fate in India and other places where there is business being done with humans. So all that could be avoided, and improving society in general. But we have other nonprofits in the United States as well and other countries. It's not just about Nepal. And I'd love to share them with you sometime
So
too.
folks can log on to your website, see the teleseminars, and also get more information on the charitable endeavors which you do both here and abroad.
Yes, the ecopolitan.com is the main website.
Okay.
The Truth About Your Food is just for those free seminars.
Okay, super. Thank you.
Nice to meet you.
And you.